And I'm Jimmy.
Welcome to Worldview Finder, episode 17.
16, right?
17.
16 was last week.
I messed up this time.
You're wrong. I'm right. Well, hey, how's everybody doing? Anything exciting happened this week?
Went to Holiday World.
Holiday World.
Actually, just Splash and Safari.
Oh, but it's...
Which, we were talking about going to court for things. I'm going to go to court that they open a entrance to Splash and Safari.
Oh.
Like a parking lot in its own entrance.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, for those of you that may be around the world listening, we have a theme park local to us. I said local. I mean, it's
but
a
it's
pretty
got
big
like
deal.
the number one roller coaster in the world, or
Yeah.
used to at least.
Every year
So-
or every couple of years they would build a roller coaster or water coaster that would break records. So they could be the number one at this.
So you may have heard of it.
They're the number one in family fun. I do know that.
Yeah.
But
Free drinks, free sunscreen.
free parking. Wink. So
For this commercial, grant me my wish, please. Holiday
yes.
World.
But so they have Holiday World, which is like different holiday themed areas,
Yeah.
and then they have Splash and Safari, which is a water park. But
That doesn't make sense that it's safari themed in a holiday themed park.
Well, when it originally opened, it was a separate park. You had to pay separate prices.
Oh, yeah, that's
Really?
right.
It had 2 water slides and a lazy river and maybe a wave pool.
Yeah.
And now it has grown into a gargantuan.
It's awesome.
It's his own park.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. It's separate. So that's actually a good deal because you get 2 parks for the price of one. You get a water park, which you can just go to just a water park.
Right, which we did.
But it's kind of back in the back, so I don't know. I guess they could figure out a way. Holiday World, if you're listening, figure out a way to
Yeah, I mean, I was like from our parking lot spot to the back of Splash and Safari where we were headed. I put on my watch, and it was like a mile. So it's a trick.
Yeah. So I'm just tired from that new baby life. Jimmy, anything exciting in your?
We got a walking pad at home. It's like a treadmill without handles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people use it for like under their desk or if they work from home. So we got it. So now we can walk on the treadmill while watching Hoarders.
Wait, is it like the original Power Pad for Nintendo?
No, I don't think it has any.
What is a walking pad?
It's basically
It's a treadmill
treadmill
without sides, like to hold on to.
Yeah,
It's just on the floor.
Oh,
a walking pad.
that seems dangerous.
It is. We've fallen off a couple times, but you
Already
get back up.
you have?
Oh yeah, because it's a little bit more narrow than your typical treadmill. And then if you're watching something, you'll start like leaning to one side, and then you lose your
my-
balance. But we have it pretty close to the couch, so if you fall, you fall on the couch.
Do you have
Nothing
two of them?
about
Was
this.
Just
you and
one.
your wife?
No, just
So
one.
your wife's just sitting there while you're just like walking while you
And then he
watch
falls
Hoarders.
on. Like, what happened? It's too wrapped up.
It was a Prime Day deal. Okay, it was normally $500. We got it for $180, so it was a good deal.
Well, hey,
Hi.
that is a
Can't
good deal.
pass it. Next week on Hoarders, Jimmy's exercise
Prime
equipment.
Day deals.
Exactly.
So I've never heard of a walking pad.
It's big on TikTok right now.
It sounds like
Yeah.
a power pad. So it's big in Japan. But yeah.
Speaking of Japan,
But I feel like this could be very dangerous because you could just set it up on your wife's side of the bed, going at night, and she wouldn't know. She'd get up, and fly out. So if you're bad, you just,
I think you definitely hear it though. so
treadmill.
it's definitely not silent, so we have to turn the TV up a little bit, but we'll do that.
That is weird.
Wait, this week we're talking about Wildwood.
Wildwood.
Some book Adrian's reading.
Oh my goodness. I
Kiki's-
bring the culture into this.
I know you do. Kiki's Delivery Service, which nobody knows what that is, but we'll talk about it anyway.
It's a Miyazaki.
Is that that TikTok song?
It's a Miyazaki film.
Kiki, do you love me? Is that a different thing?
No, Jimmy,
Okay.
it's not that. And then, of course, some Florida Foibles. Jimmy might have something from the YouTube world. You were telling us. You told me something earlier.
Okay.
You guys
Once
know.
I
You
remember,
guys
Like
pay attention
we'll
to
talk
the
about
show
it.
notes. Yeah. All right, Adrian, tell us about Wildwood.
Okay, so I think it's three books in the series. It's
a trilogy.
yes. I am almost finished with the first one. So I just wanted to talk because some pretty heavy themes have come up. It's advertised as a children's book. It is a children's book.
Like children's or young adult?
I would say, well, the main
What's it
character.
advertised as?
I don't actually know, but the main
Okay.
character is 14. So I would say 14 would be probably.
Young adult. Okay.
Yeah, middle school.
You call those young adults 14-year-olds?
14-year-olds young
14,
adults.
18, and then you're an adult.
Okay,
Right?
sure.
When does young adulthood start, Jimmy, in your eyes?
22.
You're an adult.
That's
then.
true. You're a young adult then too. Yeah. Okay. So it's like probably middle school, but it's very like Narnia-ish, and it takes place in Portland. So yeah, so it's a little bit like progressive in a way. Like one of the kids is he keeps saying that he's a pacifist, but it's still this similar like there's some woods and nobody has been able to go into them, and they're like nobody really knows why, and then this one girl does, and she finds a whole new world inside where there's talking animals, there's a mean witch. It's very like
Disney.
Narnia parallels. But I would say since it's definitely not Christian in any way, but it's not like bad.
Right.
But I'm gonna give like a little bit of a spoiler because it has to do with the worldview of the book. One is there is not much. I guess there are worldviews, but so far I haven't found like an overarching worldview, other than like the good versus evil type of thing. So this girl just finds out that her brother has been captured by this witch, which like the thing is about these spoilers is you as the parent reader are probably you kind of know all these things. You know that the parents are somehow involved. And so you just get the story from them. But they basically she goes back home and says, like, I need your help to her parents. And they say, actually, we made a deal with the witch because we couldn't have children. Oh. So the witch said that we can have one child, but if we have two, then the second one is hers. So they basically so the girl's like, well, that was a terrible idea. Let's go back and get him, my brother. And they're like, no, we made this deal. That's basically what they tell him. They're like,
gotta keep your word.
We can, we'll be okay as a family of 3. And the girl's like, absolutely not. And she goes back. So she goes back to save her brother. So anyway, like, what is I was like, I've got to talk about this worldview finder, because what is the worldview of these parents just being like, well, that's our fate.
You got to keep your word. That's worldview.
Yeah, contracts are binding. I mean, if you look at Old Testament stuff, like they would make vows before the Lord. They were like binding, and like they kept it, even though some of the stuff were crazy. And like God didn't ask him to do that. I'm thinking of the guy I think in Judges that like made this commitment to like whatever comes out of my house, I'm going to sacrifice to the Lord,
including a child.
Yeah, when his daughter comes out and he's like, "Oh," and you're like,
"I told you to stay inside."
What? He's just not like his wife. He's like, "Oh, good." I don't know, but he kept his vow, and you're like, wait, but God didn't ask him to do that. To make the vow, and you're like, what was he hoping was going to walk out of the door? Like, I don't know. But there's also an argument that like he didn't really like he just dedicated her to the Lord because she couldn't like ever have kids or what, like because she mourns her not being married and all that stuff. And so there's some people that think that happened, and some people think no, he killed his daughter. Like, so there is something with like I've made this vow, and so we knew this was a possibility, and so they like but then at the same point you're like, no, this is your kid. Yeah, but.
Would you do it, Chris?
I don't know.
If you signed this contract, would you go through with it and give him your second kid? Or you're like, no, we're breaking the contract.
Well, yeah, because you automatically assume the witch is bad. Like, I mean, what's she gonna do with this kid? Like, maybe it'll be like a good, happy, like.
Maybe the witch just wants a child herself.
Yeah.
See? No, that's not it.
That's not it.
She has evil intentions for this child.
Oh, great. So, then you gotta go rescue him back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you would assume that a witch is bad. But also, as a parent of a 1-year-old child, like...
It's true.
I would be like, absolutely not. We were going to find this kid, Even if I did make this contract or whatever, I'm going to at least try. Would you at least try?
Yeah, well, again, it's my kid and all that stuff. But like, if I said, I don't know, this is a weird.
What you would really be like? Well,
I started. Jimmy's convinced me.
I know.
Why?
Listen, you signed up for this. You shouldn't. If you didn't want to give them your second child, shouldn't agree to it.
And I know because like, isn't that the thing with Rumpelstiltskin too? They're like, he like makes deals with them.
Yeah.
He always gets the short end of the stick, but it's like, I spun this straw into gold, and I said like here's my terms, and you agreed to them,
right?
And so it's like, and so like, well, I just thought I could do this, and then not get it. You make a deal with the devil, it's gonna be
you want your
it's
cake.
Not gonna be good. Yeah, we've already talked
too.
about that too, like making deals with the devil, which is basically what they did. Yeah, that's like what it's representing.
Witches are the devil. So, but so it's like you've made this negative choice, and then now there's consequences to your negative choice, and like they obviously they should fight for good and all this stuff, but you're like at the same time, I mean they're like, this was our deal. We made this deal. It's funny because you never see that in books like that. That's why this is funny because they're always like, yes, we're going to fight. Like, no, we're a family of 3. Just deal with it. Like, no, it's my brother.
We're teaching them integrity.
Really shocking. Yeah.
She goes, I didn't make this deal.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Storms out. I'm like, I'm getting my brother back. So, because that's like, we don't ever want negative consequences.
Yeah.
But we like do things in our life that we know like, oh, this is like, I know that I'm going to eat cake and it's going to not be good for my weight, as you can tell. But like, if you're watching,
Thank
but
you, YouTube.
but like, and thanks for those of you who make comments on our shorts. But they're like, that's one of the things that you're like, I know this is bad for me, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're like, oh man, I don't know why I'm not losing weight, or oh man, I'm making negative choices in my life and then expecting just good to come out of it.
I have to pay the consequences.
Yeah, and so these people are like, no, we made this deal. This is what's happening to us.
I salute their integrity.
But it is shocking though, because you're like, no, this is a kid. This isn't just like some health concern or something like that.
Right.
Like this is like actual like, they seem like bad people now in my eyes. Right. I think poorly of those people.
Yeah, I do too.
But that's I think one of the things that we think a lot of times is like, oh, there's not going to be negative consequences, and when there are, we're like, well, now I'm mad. We're like, well, no, you signed up for this, so
You're on the side of the parents. And the witch.
I wasn't when you first.
I
told
respect
me this,
it.
and now I'm like, nah, well, yeah, but
That's a lesson here.
They knew.
Don't make a bad deal.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think side by side, they both can be bad and they both should be fought.
Like, fight them both. Fight the witch and the parents.
And which is what the girl is doing. She's like,
she's fighting the parents.
Going against my parents. I'm not accepting this fate, and I'm also going to try to take down this witch.
Well, and the girl didn't make the deal, so yeah,
that's true. She's out of it.
She can go get her brother back. Cause
found that loophole.
But then now the parents are like, no, we don't.
Yeah, she comes back. She's like, I saved him. They're like, but we said we were going to be a family of 3.
They call the witch. Nah, she's back. No, you're in on
Come
it too.
and get her.
This is an interesting story, though.
So, is it scary?
No, it's really not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I would say like the majority is for kids, but there are these adult concepts.
Yeah.
That as
infertility.
as a parent,
child kidnapping.
Right. I think for a kid reading it, they would just kind of see it as just like another part of the plot. But for a parent that maybe experiences infertility or like losing a child, like that's going to be hard to read.
Right. So this is something I've noticed like in kids stuff a lot of times. There's a lot of like
bring this up too.
Heavier themes and things like that, and not like I know like there's the whole world of the sexuality and stuff like that that's being pushed in kids stuff more and more. I saw some Baby Muppet thing the other day. I was like, what in the world?
Really?
It's insane. Yeah, so don't let your kids watch Baby Muppets. But
Amos has watched all of them.
Well, Gonzo wants to be Gonzarella, and he's like, I didn't want to tell anybody because it would be weird.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he wants to be this fairy godmother, and he's a boy.
Statler and Waldorf.
What about?
Or like they're the grandpas. So there's a My Two Grandpas episode.
Oh, man. So, but it's these adult themes and these like concepts, and not just that, but like infertility and like that's what like Up, like watching that.
The new episodes of Bluey, they are dealing with infertility. And,
really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, not like, and then one kid is having like like a traumatic memory that comes out like while he plays and stuff. I mean, Bluey can't do any wrong though. So
everybody loves Bluey, but the traumatic memory stuff, like that stuff that kids actually do deal with.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying is they're like really good. The way that they deal with them is very good.
And so should kids things have adult themes in them? Like not adult themes, like.
I think. Well, do you think
Swim.
Pixar started this with like they make movies for kids but also for adults? Like
because
it
was Up.
Up was a big one.
Talk about that.
But there's also like lots of. I've noticed this watching kids movies recently too. Is there's a lot of jokes that go over kids' heads.
Yeah.
That the adults laugh at, and so some of them are like really silly and harmless, but then others are like, "Whoa, I can't believe they tried to put that in there." But the kids have no idea.
Right. And that's VeggieTales did that.
Yeah.
Like they had some Monty Python references.
Oh, okay.
The whole Josh and the Big Wall is the scene from Monty Python.
Yeah.
You're like, this is you English canigans. But yeah, it's that like that whole idea of like, there's something for the parents in there, and like so parents
it's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, so it's enjoyable for the adults to watch, but. Like some of the themes, because the beginning of Up, like that first like 10 minutes, I'm like bawling. I was like, I don't even know these characters. If I taught a film class, I would show that as like how to develop characters really well,
really fast.
and like without like there's like barely any dialogue.
Yeah,
it's just like that music, and then just it's so good. But have you ever seen Up?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So, so you have things like that. They're like. These kind of adult themes, but then because I read, so it's called Night Books. It's also a movie on Netflix, and then Coraline, it's also a movie as well. But those are things that are like they're kind of these, I would say children's, but Night Books may be more young adult, but no, I don't think it is because
it's like teen again. It's like teens,
early teens. But even Coraline, I think is like supposed to be a kid's book, but like. It is creepy. Have you seen Coraline?
I've not seen that.
I saw it in 3D in the theater.
You saw it in 3D?
Wow.
It reminds me of Courage the Cowardly Dog, because that was like a kid's show. But there's a lot of weird and kind of scary imagery.
Courage
the Cowardly Dog.
That's on Nickelodeon,
right? It used to be on Cartoon Network. I don't know where it's on now.
I've never heard of.
Yeah.
You would probably know, like recognize it if you saw it.
Courage the Cowardly. It was scary?
Yeah, it was like really creepy and weird and scary.
He lived in a semi-haunted house.
Yeah, and all these weird kind of eerie creatures would come and stuff. So it's very, especially if you're watching it at night as a child, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's things like Goosebumps. Are You Afraid of the Dark? That was on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, but that's like introducing kids to the horror, or like being scared.
What about Scooby-Doo?
That's just that everyone close to you is bad. That's the Worldview.
Jimmy the gardener. But no, because we were watching a Scooby-Doo with Quincy like a long time ago when she was real little. Because all of the Scooby-Doos are like, they're just in the end. It's just fake. They were using this projector screen or whatever. But then we were watching one, and it was like these zombies or whatever. And then as it got further into it, they're like, no, these are real. I'm like, oh, wait, what? No, it's scary. And then we had to turn it off, and then Quincy's mad at us. She's like, why are you turning this off? I'm like, well, because this is like, it's not just in the end, everything's fixed and back to normal and like the...
Yeah, like tricks of the eyes or whatever.
Yeah, that thing. It's like, oh, no, this is like real scary stuff. And so we don't want you to fill your mind with that. And so, but like, I think we talked about America's Got Talent. Like there's some like magicians sometimes that come on and they're like, we're in the dark arts and all that stuff, but it's like, but these are kids shows, and so why do we do that? Is it to help like kids see the real world, or to introduce them into these topics that make it like acceptable? Or
I think, I don't know. I feel like the majority of people creating these things probably just think it's fun. Like these are all big topics that are out in the world, so they're just making them kind of fun and accessible for kids.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of it, like the adult jokes and stuff like that, I think it it is for the adult audience, not necessarily we're trying to introduce the kids to this necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just so the adults can get something out of this as well.
Yeah. But Coraline, like its whole thing is scary. Like it's not just
right. Well, that's what I'm saying is like there's some things that want to introduce kids to the world of being like there. I mean, there's always been scary stories after dark or whatever that we would get from the library because it's like being scared or creeped out is fun as a kid.
And as an adult, it's terrifying.
Then it's even more terrifying.
Yeah. So I don't know if is it wrong, but like, should we protect our children more from some of these? Let witches steal their souls. But yeah, so how do you, or like what was something our parents did to help us?
Are we really going to get into what they did to help us not be scared of something?
There's a great story here. I didn't even think about that.
Story time.
All right, yeah, tell this story.
All right. So my parents were trying to protect me from the scariness of dinosaurs. So I wasn't allowed to watch Jurassic Park, even though I was like really into monster movies. But they said, okay, we're gonna have a Jurassic Park night, or we're gonna watch Jurassic Park. And so my parents sat me down, and the three of us watched it together.
You didn't have anybody else? It wasn't a party or anything?
No one a party or anything. They were just like, we're gonna let you watch this, and we're gonna sit by you.
Mom watched it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, three of us watched it, and I was scared out of my mind, and and I was going to bed, and my mom was in there.
Wait, how old were you? Were you 13?
I can't remember.
I think you were.
I probably was.
I think she was 13. Okay, so keep going.
I can't remember. But so I'm laying in bed and my mom is sitting on the edge of my bed and the door handle starts kind of, jiggling, and my mom and I both like look over and the door slowly opens and a raptor peeks its head inside my bedroom. And I just lost it. And it was my dad, actually. It was not Chris. It was my dad, but Chris had this like huge realistic. It wasn't even like, it didn't look like a stuffed animal, but it was like a realistic raptor stuffed animal. And my dad had pretended that it had like opened my door and was gonna come and
because in the
me.
movie they jiggle the handle a little bit.
And so,
oh my goodness.
This is why I love my family. We don't want you to be scared, but let me terrify you.
Mom was mad at dad because.
But she started crying too, right?
I think she was
everything.
crying because of my reaction, though. Like how absolutely unhinged I was at this. And so from then on, I had these reoccurring dinosaur nightmares.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good parenting.
Yeah. Went to Disney World.
Man.
Lost it on that dinosaur ride. Triggered multiple memories.
Oh, man.
So,
you gotta watch that Bluey episode.
yeah, my parents did not protect me from the fear of dinosaurs.
You were 13, Adrian.
I know.
You were a young adult.
Everyone was like, dinosaurs aren't
Young
real.
adult.
I'm like, they are.
They're
Have you
real.
seen Jurassic Park? They're back.
Oh, man. But no, but with our kids, like that's one of the things, because one of my kids is very sensitive to anything remotely scary or anything like. And we're like, well, you watch these other shows, like, yeah, but those are cartoons. Like they've come to terms with that. But then some of the other stuff, they're like, no, I can't. So we were watching like Spider-Man, the first one, Tobey Maguire. We started watching that, and she was like, I can't. Like it was just too scary for her. I'm like, why is this too? And we like. Not get mad, but like you can watch this. well, no, like if it's something that like gives her a pause, we need to be like, okay, go in the other room. We're gonna watch this as a family. And you're not a part of it.
We've sacrificed you to a witch.
Yeah,
you don't have to watch this.
We're a family of 3. So that means I got rid of a lot of my kids. So, but yeah, so I, like there's an idea as a parent, like I want to protect my kids from stuff, but then there's stuff that I'm like, oh, I want to enjoy this with them, But if it's something that like they are like have pause on, I don't want to like force them to.
Right.
So when do I force them to watch scary?
Once they're 13.
They don't like. So I don't know, but yeah, but I think, but I mean, but mom and dad did teach us like, okay, these things are not great for us to watch, or these things like yeah, because I don't think I could watch Jurassic Park until I was 13. I saw it in theaters. And I remember at one point my dad leaned over and goes, "This is where it's going to get PG-13."
Oh goodness.
Dad, he's a sneaky scarer.
Yeah, he's like, "I think it's about to get PG-13." He's like, "What's gonna happen?" I'm like, "I'm here for it."
Man on the toilet's gonna get eaten.
Yep, it did. That's when it started. So, but PG. Yeah, I remember him saying that to me in the theater. But yeah, so speaking of witches, we watched Kiki's Delivery Service with my family. Mm-hmm. So Max has all the Miyazaki films on. Like I don't know, they're doing some animation thing. So, so if you're not familiar with Miyazaki, he is a famous Japanese
director.
But he doesn't do the art for it.
Like Studio Ghibli.
Oh, Studio Ghibli. That's right. Shout out to Studio Ghibli. And so, Jimmy, you are not familiar with the Japanese arts at all.
No, I did watch Pokemon.
Okay. Well, then
that counts.
You know some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Studio Ghibli
Miyazaki.
and Miyazaki like combined make these films that are just they're really great.
They are really
they're
great.
kind of masterpieces. I haven't seen a lot of them. I haven't seen
They're
Ponyo.
very beautiful.
Yeah. So, but they're on Max. I would encourage you to like look up stuff on them. But Kiki's Delivery Service, there's been a couple of them that have been coming back to theaters. So I think like Princess Mononoke is back in theaters. Kiki's came back.
Each summer they do a Studio Ghibli.
Is that just in Evansville?
I don't know. It's AMC.
Okay, so wherever AMCs are.
They do one a week.
Oh,
in the summer.
I don't think I realized that. So every summer.
They did it last summer and this summer.
Oh well, 2 summers in a row. It's a done deal. Next summer, check that out. Or maybe there's still more this summer. I don't know. But Kiki's Delivery Service, like the basic premise is there's a girl. She's turning 13, so young adult.
Young adults
going to. So once you turn 13, on the night of a full moon, you fly away, and for a year you go give your witch services to. Some city or town that needs a witch.
Yeah.
So
try to get a child or two.
These are good witches.
Yeah. And so there's no like other than that she can fly around on a broom, there's nothing else that she does that's like because I know, I mean, as like Christians, like the Bible says witchcraft is an abomination. And so some people like have trouble with Harry Potter or witch things and all that stuff. So in the beginning, like her mom's making a potion, but you never know like it's just it's kind of like the Harry Potter world where it's like some people are witches. Like it's not like you can train to be a witch or whatever. And so, but this year long thing is kind of like them finding like, what's my talent? What am I good at? What am I going to contribute to the world around me? Mm-hmm. And so things I liked about Kiki is that she's a very hard worker. Like she would just go into a place and be like, I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to do this stuff and like all that. The things I don't like about her, she's kind of a jerk to this boy that's like really nice to her. And she's just like, get away from me and all this stuff. And he like,
does she like him?
No, she does not like him. He kind of likes her. He's kind of like trying to be nice to her.
That's his mistake. You should throw rocks at girls you like at that age.
Yeah, he saves her from being arrested. And so, but she kind of deals with some of that teen angst of like, this person's mean or bad or whatever, and like, and all that. But it was really this like, the way that they do the animation is just they're very
really
beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a bit slower than most. Like it's just kind of like her trying to figure out who she is, and you're like, oh, this is kind of a cool story. And so, but at the same time, like my oldest kid was like, I didn't like it very much. It was she said it was okay, and then as each day passes, she hates it.
So, wow.
And so when we've suggested some of the other ones, like, hey, we could watch some of these, but I think Spirited Away, it's a bit scarier at points, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Not necessarily scary, but just like it's more bizarre than the other ones.
Yeah.
So I think for kids, it's hard to know like what's going on.
Howl's Moving Castle? You ever seen that one?
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I thought My Neighbor Totoro.
Well, I like both of them,
Oh,
but
okay.
Howl's is more. Again, it's more like this is fun and whimsical, but it has adult themes in it. Like there's a war going on and stuff like that goes over my kid's head. But Totoro is just like a classic, solid kids movie. Like, he loves that movie.
Princess Mononoke, have you seen that one?
A long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's
I
like
don't remember
more...
much of it. It's PG-13.
Yeah,
that one's not
like
really a kid's one.
Yeah.
Ponyo, did you see Ponyo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. She's seen them all. I have not.
Yeah.
But in those, like, there is some of the Japanese, like, mysticism and things like that a little bit that gets, like, the spiritual, like, ancestral.
Yeah, like Totoro, even Totoro is like a spirit, like a forest spirit.
Yeah.
But they never even, I don't think they even say that. So, like, we as adults would be like, oh, yeah, this is a forest spirit from him. And they have, like, there's little statues around and stuff.
Common forest spirit.
Yeah, and you see those things. But, like, to my kid, that's just like, oh, this is a decoration in a garden. And, oh, this is a magical, like, gigantic bunny mouse thing. Like, it's really cool.
I know you've probably seen pictures of Totoro. They're
probably.
It's like a little round giant bunny mouse thing.
Oh, I think I have seen that.
Yeah.
Adrian has a back tattoo of it. So show you.
Just full tattoo.
full
back.
back tattoo.
Took 18 hours.
I did have some Totoro Converse at one point.
Oh, man. You probably sell those for good money. But the worldview, like, in a lot of that stuff, it's more subtle. Like, it's more like, these are spirits, and this is just what exists in our world. Yeah, and I think
for the... Well, especially because the audience is, at first, it's a Japanese audience.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, extremely normal for them to have all that stuff. So, yeah, so American culture is like, well, I don't know what this is, but it's there.
So, but in Kiki's Delivery Service, so they've dubbed it in English, and it's really good dubs and stuff. But then after... because I was like, oh, there's a Japanese version of it, and so now my son Shepard, who's 5, he can't read yet, or he can, but very like, the word the three-letter words. Cat. He's like, I want to watch it in Japanese, and I'm like, well, but then you have to read it, and he's like, he keeps like every night, can we watch Kiki's in Japanese? I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Hey, you may learn
That's
Japanese.
A great way to learn to read.
Okay, well, learn Japanese.
Yeah, you just learn Japanese.
So that's what I'm gonna do with my 3-week-old. We'll just put him in front of Japanese things and let him learn Japanese.
Yeah,
that's a good way to do it. So, all right, Florida this week, man. I'll tell
Florida.
It's a good one.
If I can find it.
I will let the audience know. Chris has, it looks like 55 Google Chrome tabs open right now.
That's what mine looks like too.
This is it's goofy at first, but this one's going to get a little bit more serious, I think. So basically, Miami's Rolling Loud Festival calls to end using rap artists' lyrics as evidence. So at first I was like, I don't know what that means, but apparently there have been, I think, over 500 cases where they've used lyrics in a rap video or rap music to over 500 indictments of black artists based solely on their lyrics. And so like if somebody's like, yeah, I'm dealing drugs, or yeah, I've shot a man, and or I've murdered people, like in their lyrics they're like talking about illegal things, then they've used them for like their trial. I'm like, well, this person said with their own mouth, here it is in their song, I dealt drugs out of the back of my Bentley and
those
shot this lyrics, guy in the face. Yeah. But then in the article it says Johnny Cash never faced prosecution for singing I Shot a Man in Reno, or Willie Nelson for singing about shooting a woman, or Ashley McBride for singing about burying a mistress alive. So like they haven't been indicted for those things. But I would say, did they, like, was somebody shot in Reno that they didn't know what happened? And they're like, well, if only somebody would have sang about this, we would know. So it's interesting, like, that, like, people sing about some things in songs, but if they actually, like, find the criminal activity and like, oh, well,
I think there's got to be more evidence on the line, like you said. Like,
they're not going to arrest you just because you said that you did this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But if there's a crime that's been committed and there's connections to that person.
Yeah.
And then they have this admission.
Although if you take if you take the rap out, wow.
Speaking of young adults,
We'll cut that out.
16-year-old Jimmy.
leave it in, Trey.
So speaking of, if you take rap out of it, if you just say, "Hey, I murdered someone," wouldn't the police at least like to have a conversation with you?
Freedom of speech should not be criminalized.
That's what they said.
Bowman said. I don't know who.
But then if you admit to a crime you actually did, that's technically freedom of speech. But I feel like you should criminalize people that say they killed people.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't, I don't remember what episode it was on, but Jimmy talks about his story with the murderer.
The murderer story, yeah. So the murder story, how they found him was he was going around and telling people that he killed his wife.
Yeah.
Now, if you would have rapped about it, like you fooled me twice, but now I killed my wife, then I think he should have been free to go.
Did you just make up a weird rap?
It rhymed.
Jimmy's been working on this rap song for a long time, so he didn't just make it up. He's been working on this for years.
Years.
I walked into Taco Bell. So
It's pretty good.
I know it rhymes with Bell.
yeah, smell. So. Yeah, so here was this guy. I don't know who Bowman is. I probably should have read this article more, but so I think he's on the board and trying to figure out like how to, because the argument is that it's racist.
Yeah.
And here's his quote: "It's racism because the majority of rap artists are black men, and America is masterful at figuring out new ways to throw black men in jail," Bowman said. "It's ageism because hip-hop has always been music for young people to inspire the creativity and innovation and social justice of young people. If you attack black men and black people and young people, you suppress any kind of revolution that could push back against our political and economic capitalist system."
Wow.
So he's saying if you use rap lyrics to convict somebody, you're ruining the future of America.
But also, we talked about the lyrics in songs and how, like, the rap artists have said, I've been in this culture.
Yeah.
And it's really detrimental to my...
That was Tom McDonald, yeah. Who was a white rapper, by the way. But,
yeah. But, like, is it really great for the future of America to be steeped in, like, criminal activity? Can't you still be, like, inspirational or...
Yes, you...
No.
Like,
the future of America is drug deals and murdering women. Like, yeah, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Creative content, like, okay, talk about social injustice. Talk about, and that was, I mean,
Sure.
Like, there was, young rappers talking about the whole police thing. Like, that,
Yeah.
I mean, in the 80s and stuff, that's how rap kind of got its rise to fame, because it was black artists rapping about, like, police brutality and, like, the mistreatment of them by this society.
yeah,
like,
when they expose things, like that could be really helpful.
yeah.
But if they're exposing the murder that they're doing,
Yeah,
maybe that's not the best
probably
plan.
not.
Hey, I can't be responsible for that.
Now it is.
I rapped about it.
Now it is interesting because I think the culture of rap and mainstream rap, it's like you have to have a certain amount of street cred and you have to rap about that. So you have to talk about how much money you have, how many women you get, and then apparently how many people you kill.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's where you get your street cred, as they say. I'm big in the hip hop world.
Yes.
Like, there's three white Christian people talking about this.
Talking about,
we aren't authorities by any means on rap.
Right, but
the worldview.
But even like him saying, well, the majority of rap artists are black men, and so that it's an attack against black people. Like, no, I'm sure if Willie Nelson or whatever, they found the crime that, like, he's like talking about, like, okay, because I remember there's a Dixie Chick song a while ago about them, like, murdering a cheating boyfriend or something, or they're like, I don't know if they murdered him, but I think it was. But it's that, like, okay, I'm mad at this person, and this is how I want to vent this, but I'm going to use it artistically to, like, talk about. Now, they shouldn't be murdering people anyway. Like, because it does influence people, like, oh, I should murder this person. And
I think murder them lyrically.
Ooh, rap battle. But I think, like, one of those things that we get in our heads is that, like, oh, it's racist because the majority of rap artists are black men, but it's like, no, I'm sure if white rappers said the same thing, or country artists, like, it's got to be connected to a crime, and so to throw racism into it and ageism too, it's attacking the young people, like, no, we're attacking crime. Like,
we're attacking crime.
Shut up, crime. So it's hard. Like, I don't know. Do you guys agree with this statement, or do you think okay, there's a better way to go about creating a revolution. And I think you talked about that a little bit. But.
I just feel like I have no authority on this like whole rap subject, but I think we have a tendency right now to slap things on, like slap the word racism or ageism or gentrification or whatever, like onto subjects that maybe not have to deal with it, so that the problem goes away, or like you get what you want in the end.
Because the bigger issue is people doing illegal things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it doesn't matter, like, and it doesn't matter the race, but like the examples they use, I don't know that there was those white singers or whatever that said those things. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Like, I don't know that, again, like there was a tie to that. And so it's like, okay, let's be better for our future kids and all that stuff by creating art and creating things that are going to build them up and challenge them and challenge some of the things that have been going on and things like that. But it's like, no, if you're committing crimes and singing about them, like, yes, they're going to use those lyrics because you said I did this thing, just like your murder friend that you gave a ride. Like would you say, how close of friends were you?
I wouldn't say we were good friends.
but
one time.
But it's that idea, that like, oh, I'm talking about this. And so, they accused him of that crime because he was saying stuff about it. And so whether you're singing it or saying it to your friend, like your good friend, like whether you're saying it or singing it, like that shouldn't, how you present the material of you're doing illegal activity shouldn't matter. So if they're like, oh yeah, like we took him down to jail and we were questioning him, but he rapped all his responses. And so we can't use them in the court of law.
I think we need more information of like what comes first. If they hear the song and then they're like, we need to look into this crime, or if these like crime things are happening. These crime things are happening. Well, like a certain neighborhood or whatever is like dealing with all these things, and then they're like, this is a cold case or whatever, but then they have these ties to this guy or this rapper who is singing about doing those crimes in that area. That, to me, that makes more sense.
I still think you should talk to people if they're talking about rapping about murdering people. You're like, did you actually do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I think we talked about last episode, like the community part comes in, because it's like, okay, like if you're surrounding yourself with people that are like, oh yeah, you should sing about this or rap about this.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's getting published. Like it's not just like, oh, they just came up and secretly made this album. Like it's getting produced and they're working the lyrics and there's a group of people around them. And so if somebody's like, hey, this is very specific. Did you really murder this woman? And it's like, yeah, maybe let's not think about it. Like there should be some checks and balances around them. Like, oh, are you really dealing drugs out of the back of your Bentley? Like then maybe we should not rap about that if you don't want to get arrested. So like, yeah, I don't think it's stifling creativity if you're like singing about awful things. It's like, no, like you're putting that out there, and if you did those things, then there's a day of judgment coming for you. So, hey kids, if you're making great art, don't sing about murder. So no,
sing about crime.
But it goes back to like I think what we talked about with the kids things, because our young because this rap is a generally young audience, and lyrics do matter. And so you said that earlier, like what we put into our body, like that, like in our brains, like that's going to affect how we view the world around us. And so if we're filling our minds with murder and all that stuff, it's like, okay, well that's why drug dealers and all this stuff is continuing to happen, because we're glorifying it by singing about it and then putting it up, and they're getting these great record deals, and
that's
they're
how
getting
you get street cred or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that lifestyle is working for them, so then I'm going to embrace that lifestyle too, because I want lots of money and I want to be able to do these things, and so it just kind of feeds into that. And so I think, I mean, I don't necessarily know that it's racist, but I mean, yeah, like what you say, like we'd have to look at all the cases and be like, oh, okay, they just did this because this person is black or white or whatever. So, but I think overall, if you're a criminal and you're singing about it, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So, all right. I don't know. I feel like we ended on a heavy note.
We did.
Jimmy, tell us a joke.
I thought you were going to talk about something from YouTube.
Nope,
Yeah.
that'll be next time. We just ran out of time.
We did? Oh, man. All
Maybe
right.
next time.
All right.
Next time, Gadget. Next time. Well, hey. Make stuff that's good. And sorry, I heard a phone go off in the other room. So just make stuff that's creative and make stuff that's good and make stuff that's wholesome and builds others up and challenges people and all that stuff. Challenge the status quo, but do so in a way that is uplifting. So, hey, thanks for joining us. I'm Chris.
I'm Adrian.
And I'm Jimmy.
We'll see you next time.